So if I go into this first event and they get completely obliterated, I might cry.
Yeah!
For those of you that follow my channel, or at least Hodag in its fights, you'll know that in pretty much every other fight that Hodag is in, the weapon assembly breaks. And I don't mean in the normal meaning of break where it just stops spinning. I mean that the weapon assembly is no longer attached to the rest of the robot and dangling on by the wires that are attached to the weapon motor.
Big sparks as they go weapon to weapon. Hodag pushes Skippy into the...
So, unsurprisingly, I decided that I needed to make some drastic changes to the weapon assembly. So let's get into the overhauled weapon assembly, and then we can take a look to see if it actually ended up working out. In order to show you the changes, I'll just show you the whole robot. I replaced the 1/8 inch diameter shafts with 3/16. This has more than double the cross-sectional area, so that should not bend. Since I'm going back to the steel, since the tungsten carbide would shatter and would leave the weapon free floating after it got damaged, which is worse than it bending, because I'd rather just not be able to punch than have my whole weapon just dangling. That doesn't look good for the judges, and also it creates an opportunity for me to suck up my own electronics. Consequently, this means I had to have a thicker sides and made the entire weapon assembly wider. The thicker sides should make it more durable, but it being wider meant that I had to push one of these rails, for the left rail, further out, which means that the weapon is more off center. I just did the left side instead of moving both of them because I wanted to keep the timing belt in line where it is. And changing that would require changing a lot more things on the robot. I also changed the material of the weapon assembly. Instead of being 3D printed polycarbonate, it is now builded UHMW, so this should be a lot more impact resistant. For those wondering, I ordered the UHMW sides from Xometry, and since they're not a sponsor, it was on my own pocket, and I'm not going to tell you the exact price, but they certainly weren't cheap compared to everything else in this robot. So if I go into this first event and they get completely obliterated, I might cry. You can't tell because it's inside the robot, but I also added a little bit material underneath where the actual rail is, so it'll be less likely to just come right off. I also am now using a zip tie to keep the wires in place instead of super gluing it there. Instead of super gluing this timing belt into place, I made a simpler feature and have holes going across the cross section, so I basically am just screwing the timing belt into place. This will be a lot easier for switching it out at events. Some other changes I made are I made the whole robot wider by essentially adding material to the sides. This should protect these front wheels and the back wheels from impacts better. I also changed it. You'll notice the hot glue there. Instead of super gluing the front wheels to the side of the robot, I decided to actually use nuts, and I used hot glue in order to sort of give them a little bit more support, and hot glue isn't that difficult to take out. Also, I made the back wheels bigger in both the diameter of the total wheel as well as the pulley, so I could have a little bit more tension on the pulley going to the front wheels and make it a little bit harder to high center me. So we get to try out this new weapon assembly up at Harbor City Riot in Duluth, Minnesota. Since it's a little bit of a smaller event, if this weapon assembly works as well as I'm hoping it can, that we can come home with Hodag's first trophy. I also brought Bigfoot to that event, so be on the lookout for that video 2 weeks from now. And before I have future me tell you guys how the event went, be sure to hit the like button because it really helps me out. And thank you, and future me will take it away. So I should explain that I'm further in the future than I originally planned because I had 3 events back to back, so it took me a while to get to it, as well as some personal stuff going on, as well as my microphone breaking. That combination of things happening made it take a lot longer for me to be able to start recording. So it's been 2 months, so let's get into it. Our first fight is against a 2-wheeled horizontal spinner called Spectre. I know it's been around a while and definitely can hit really hard, but it's had some issues in the past with the belt for the weapon, so we'll see how that ends up going. I actually previous me didn't mention this going into the event, but I do have a new anti-horizontal wedge that basically just sort of goes higher, and we'll see if it works out.
Yes! Get him! Oh no! Oh god.
So we started out the fight pretty good with the wedge sort of doing its job and holding up really well, as well as the weapon assembly being able to take a direct hit without exploding, which is really good to see. Unfortunately, in the same hit that we were able to take out his pulley for his weapon, Hodag just shuts down, like complete no power, no weapon. So we ended up getting counted out, and it actually ends up coming back to life shortly after we end up getting counted out. And opening it up, everything, all the electronics were fine. And at the event, I pretty much was just hoping it was a fluke, so I didn't really change anything, not knowing what was going on. So with that first loss, we kind of just have to go to the next fight and hope for the best, hope that doesn't happen again. Which leads us into our next fight against Variant. For this fight, I decided to use the other copy of Hodag, hoping it won't have the same gremlins. Variant is a four-wheel drive beater bar. It recently had a redesign, and so he's had some gremlins of his own that day, and we'll see whose gremlins end up being worse in this next fight.
Oh no! Hodag! Hey, you twitched last.
Yeah, I got one. Double KO?
It just sounds like a double KO.
Oh, you got drive.
Yeah!
So as you noticed, even though the drive was completely not responsive, the weapon I could still control and whatnot. And eventually it came to life, even though that probably should have been a double knockout and going to a judge's decision. They ended up just sort of awarding me with the knockout because my robot came to life eventually, even though we both would have been counted out. And so that was really weird. I don't like the idea that I have no copy of Hodag that I can really trust. But with that, we go into our third fight, 1-1. I know normally I don't bother telling you which copy of Hodag is going into which fight, but since I have to troubleshoot or had to troubleshoot this two unique electrical issues, it's kind of important that I let you guys know so you guys can actually know what's going on and follow along. Our third fight is against Deathmuncher, another two-wheeled horizontal spinner. I'm not quite as intimidated by Deathmuncher as I was Spectre, so I'm still feeling pretty good going into this one after the chassis held up in the Spectre fight. As long as I don't have any electrical gremlins, we should be good to go. Oh god, not again. Oh, thank God.
Just stick where you were and you would have been stuck.
Factoring in every fight before and after this one, I think that's the longest it's taken for Hodag to self-right from that position. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, and if I should be concerned. We end up taking that judge's decision pretty handedly with his weapon going down and us pretty much controlling the whole match. It's worth noting that with the wedge I use against horizontals, it makes it a lot harder for me to reach my opponent with my weapon, so that's why you don't see me get really any good hits in there. I did think it was kind of interesting that the entire fight, his weapon had a lot of trouble being able to spin up, and whenever it hit my wedge at all, it just completely stopped. So there wasn't really much he could do in that fight against me, and it looks like the brownout issues unfortunately aren't a fluke. Since this event is modified Swiss and we're 2-1, if this last fight, if we win it, we're able to go into the single elimination bracket. If not, we're done for the day. It's against French Toast Sticks, which is a brand new hammer saw. Going into this event, Hodag didn't have any titanium top plates. I still have the carbon fiber top plates, so I'm not super prepared for overhead attacks, so we'll have to see how this goes.
One fight.
Oh no. Oh no. Hey, look over TPU.
I'm trying. We're stuck.
Here we end up getting unstuck because he's stuck in the front TPU of Hodag, and he just barely scrapes the edge of the carbon fiber top plate.
One fight.
Get them wheels. Oh no, not our pulley. Yeah. Oh. I'm sick of
Are you stuck or dead?
one of the two. Equally likely. He comes back. Come on. Come on, little Hodag. Get closer. I think it's our drive. It's not a stuck problem. It's been going out intermittently all day.
5, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and that's a knockout.
Watch. It's gonna work. Watch.
Oh my god.
So the weapon is still working, so it's just the drive that goes out, so it's not the receiver in this case, and we were actually able to drive to the door, so it actually came to life in time to do that. And had that fight gone the distance, I think we were just barely winning. Obviously it still could have gone the other way, but it really sucks to lose like that. Yeah, so Hodag goes 2-2, 3 events in a row now. This video was supposed to be all about my brand new shiny weapon that I spent a bunch of money on and fixed actually a lot of issues because we didn't have them because we were so distracted by these new issues and my robot turning off in all 4 fights, yet somehow still managing to go 2-2. I'm going to talk more about how I fixed that in the next video, which I know you'll be sad to hear. But on the plus side, for the next month, I'm going to be putting out 1 video each week since I'm so far behind and I want to get the last 3 Hodag events made and published before I go to NHRL in June, because ultimately all this work on Hodag, all these upgrades and all these fixes are meant to get Hodag as ready as possible for NHRL in June. So be sure to subscribe so you can get the next video on how I fix these electrical issues, as well as check out how Hodag does at NHRL. I almost forgot to mention a extra special video, or not so special, where that is just the build of Hodag that I'll be bringing to NHRL. That way, if people are curious, they don't have to go watch 6 different videos to figure out